Hi there, I'm Kylie Mowbray Allen from Hello Media.
And I'm Jenny Walk from Elephant in the Room Consulting, and you're tuning into Bite Size Business Live Podcast, the show that helps business owners get clarity and insight to grow their dream business.
Whether you're launching, ready to scale, or figuring out what's next, we discuss the nitty-gritty, the hard bits, the opportunities, and the behind the scenes, and share how we've grown our own companies and helped others do the same.
We're glad you're here.
Great, thanks. Good to be here with you on this beautiful Monday morning after a whole month off, Jenny.
I can't believe it's been a month. It's gone so quickly. I don't know what I've done the last month. I was trying to think of all the
Las
things.
Vegas. Pretty big
I think
one.
we've done what? Melbourne, Vegas, Cairns, Canberra, Rockhampton, Byron Bay has been my last 3 weeks. So it's been a little hectic.
Awesome. Well, so good to see you, and congratulations to you on your incredible win in the Women Changing the World Awards.
Thank you so much. It was such a surprise. I was so excited to, obviously we try really hard to kind of put our best foot forward and be recognized. And sometimes it happens through organically, and other times you kind of go, I'm going to throw my head in for that award. But I think you mentioned it was like 3,500 nominations across all the different categories, which is phenomenal. Global audience and people who don't know me, who, have looked through what we've done and reflected on the work that we've achieved and been able to come out as Professional Services of the Year is phenomenal. So we are incredibly, incredibly proud of that.
I'll bet you are. It's just so awesome. Very, very proud of you. I was watching the live stream.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate that you did that. I was looking it up in the morning, and when I looked at first thing in the morning, I was like, what is this? No, I was a bit 7 in the morning, a little bit shocked.
It was fabulous.
So how have you been, Kyle? Last week we had an amazing growth trio down at Byron with Ashley. So much fun to be in person with people and sharing a little bit of knowledge like in the old days. But what have you been doing last week?
I have just been flat out, lots going on, especially in the ad space, a lot of deep diving into some of the new ad stuff. And of course, AI is affecting every single thing that we're doing in business. So I've been working with a couple of coaches on that, and busy. And of course, our next growth trio workshop is in only a few weeks. So that's really exciting in Brisbane. And I totally agree with you. Just doing it in person was so wonderful. And having the people in the room, like we were fully booked, people in the room were just so into it, so enthusiastic. And they just gave me so many great comments afterwards that even the venue where we were said to me 3 times throughout the day, what a vibe you've got going on in that room. It's just amazing. The energy's awesome. I was like, yeah, I really felt it too.
I agree as well. I've been using that word a lot. I think Michael thinks I've kind of gone to a cult because I keep saying vibe about things because that's how I'm feeling at the moment. There's this really great energy around the space, around the work we're doing, and seeing that being able to sit in a room and have a conversation with people and get that kind of immediate feedback and sharing and banter without that kind of Zoom delay or Teams delay or kind of just that kind of status that you sometimes get online. It was phenomenal, and I'm looking forward to June 28th. It's a Friday here in Brisbane. Looking forward to having lots of people come and join us. So if you haven't registered yet, please do so.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it too. So today we've got a big topic I'm really excited about. We're talking about AI and your business, and in particular, the platforms that I'm using lately and really, really loving. Now, before I deep dive into my ones though, Jenny, tell me, what are you into? What are you loving at the moment?
I've got something actually, it's not to do with creating content, but actually maximizing my productivity. I've just signed up for Fathom. So I'm using, we've just joined a paid program with Fathom just recently. If you don't know Fathom, it's essentially like Otter was. So Otter, which would sit in and transcribe your meetings and provide you kind of that transcription at the back end. Fathom actually provides a summary of your meeting. And funnily enough, after signing up for Fathom and logging in and getting the free trial, I went back to Otter, and Otter is now doing something very similar. So if you go into Otter now, you have your transcript and it actually does the summary also. But what I love about Fathom and what's making me me and my clients incredibly happy is at the end of the meeting, it sends us a summary in an email that says, this is what you talked about, and here are your actions to take from the meeting that we heard looking at the transcript. So I've just been forwarding that fabulous email to my clients saying, hey, here's the recording, here's the conversation we had. If you have any questions, let me know. But it saves me so much time, and I can focus on the conversation and not having to worry about taking down some of those nuanced notes that I would normally do, because now I have it sent to me straight after in this platform. And we've been using it for about 8 weeks now, or maybe 12 weeks. And the accuracy is phenomenal. And that's what I'm really appreciating. And my clients, I've got government clients who are now saying, we're going to see if we can use this for when we run our meetings, to take our minutes of our meetings. So that's been a game changer for us. We still use ChatGPT. We're a bit old school, apparently, that we still like using ChatGPT and ARPRM. So we've been using that still, really just to help us with guidance and tips and things like that. We certainly show our clients that to help them create caption starters. If they're a bit new to writing captions, we get them to look at that, or their socials, or even looking at things like business risks. We say, type in all the information about your business and ask it to kind of look at what it knows about business risks. It comes back with a list that we can then talk to the client about. So they're probably 2 main ones we use. And what about you, Carly? Because you've just had a massive shift, we heard last week.
Oh, no. I'm still using lots of different ones and trialing them out. But I just wanted to mention about Fathom, because I've been using Otter in the same way for a while now. And I agree with you. It's a game changer. So I send that link. There's a summary. There's actionable items for them. But there's also screenshots of every time I've shared a screen or they have, which is so cool. And I'm just paying the same amount as I always have. It's all come in the same, because I use X number of minutes, and I'm just blown away by it. So I'm super impressed. And I think for all of you out there doing one-on-one session online, you just can't go wrong with an AI note taker like that, especially the summary. It's just been so good. We've also been using it in our group coaching and all kinds of things. So instead of people needing to go back and watch something in the recording that they wanted to go back to, then they can just look at that note taker, and it's just
so good.
And I was thinking the other day about, what about when I was doing those in-person one-on-ones, pre-Zoom and all that, so very long time ago, and I would do a 1 hour one-on-one, and then it would take me sometimes up to 90 minutes to type up the notes.
I know.
So now, then when I was just only doing it on Zoom and I could send them the recording, I was like, hallelujah. But now that it will actually take the notes and summarize it, it's a game changer. I totally agree with you on that one. Loving it.
One of the other things, though, which is not really kind of AI, but has actually really been a game changer for me, is I write post reports for all my clients. So my clients know that at the end of when we do a workshop, that we collate and prepare a workshop report for them. It's one of the things that we've always added. And instead of, what I used to do is I would look at all the notes and I'd type all the notes up manually. And now what I've been doing is actually sitting with the notes with my dictator. So I just click on the voice to text on my MacBook, and I just read all the content and talk through the information that has been collated either on post-it notes or on whiteboards in my notes. And I've been pulling that together, and then I've actually been sending that to a different platform just to say, hey, can you just have a look at this and bring together the key themes and information that has come from this, which then allows me to get my core themes that I can then write to. So it's reducing my time for reporting so much in so many ways, because it's still taking all my content, all my knowledge, all the words I'm doing. But instead of me having to go through and say, how many times did we say X, Y, Z, and how many times was this? It's actually looking at it and saying, well, these are the top 3 things that were shared with all those notes across the 1 or 2 days that you talked through. And so it's rather not so much AI, but what's doing is it's actually allowing me to get my notes together far more quickly, because I'm utilizing the technology that's available rather than having to sort of old school read, write, review constantly. It reduces that time to market so much. It's been phenomenal for me.
Brilliant. That's what it's all about at the end of the day, isn't it? It's not to get AI to replace us. It's to get us to work smarter, not harder. And I just think there's so many aspects of it that I'm just loving. So yay to finding good ways. One of the ones, have you been playing around with Meta.ai?
No, I haven't actually. I haven't spent much time to Meta AI as yet. I've kind of stayed away from that, to be honest.
So I'm probably finding it to be my favorite in terms of conversational. So you know full well that you know you can know that it's a chat GPT or an AI written caption on social media in a second. For example, the clearest one in those particular words like unleash and all that stuff, but also because Australians or Australian businesses are all of a sudden now putting out US English. And so I'm like, oh, you've still got to edit it and look at all that kind of thing. But also it's just on socials, there's just a lot of complaints about it being less and less and less of authentic what's out there. And so I'm very, very conscious that yes, we can use it as a tool, as we've discussed before, but still having your own voice in there and still having your own ideas. Um,
Definitely.
and so one thing, whenever I'm talking about it on socials, I'll mention how I'm using it on a personal note. So for example, for Meta AI, traveling around the South Island in the first 2 weeks of May, in New Zealand, my mum was sitting in the back of the camper van and I'd call out to mum, hey, we're half an hour away from Arrowtown. Ask Meta what are 10 little known facts about Arrowtown that we wouldn't find in a guidebook. And it's listing these really cool things. So the whole trip, my mum was so into it. And then she would call it out and we were just looking out for these things. Or let's say we found an amazing tree and we'd ask it about that tree and put a photo up of it. And it was just amazing. And like I said, just so much more conversational and so much, what you got back was really good. There was a moment that I was extremely anxious with driving the camper van on this particular road. And I had no idea that I was even going to be worried, let alone the fact that I was in the midst of it, so high, so steep, and then panicking. So anyway, that night I couldn't sleep. I kept feeling like I was driving off this cliff. It was awful. So while I couldn't sleep, I got onto Meta AI and I started asking, I said, this is the drive I just did. I felt really, really uncomfortable. What's a good way to stop feeling that way? And it gave me these amazing good points. Then I said, and tomorrow I'm going to be driving back and I need an alternative route, but one that doesn't have this, this, and this. And it gave me options. And it
Wow.
was so impressive. Like I felt like I had a little buddy there in the night. And it was even saying things like, I really, really understand. I can understand why you would feel like that because it's this steep, it's this here, it's this narrow, and a camper van's really big. It was
Amazing. I
really
would
incredible.
never even imagine using it for asking me for directions or conversations while I'm driving or post driving. Never at all. But that is a very unique and innovative way to be using it, certainly.
Yeah, and I've also found the images that it produces way better than any of the other image stuff I've been using. And I also love that as soon as you've created the 4 images, you can then say animate, and it's turned them into little GIFs for you, which is some pretty fun stuff. So I've really, really, really enjoyed the AI thanks to Meta. However, I'm just about to do a big post this morning about some of the issues with the fact that all of us have been training Meta AI because it's a scenario where you've got to opt out rather than opt in, and it's
Yeah.
quite difficult to opt out. So that's a shame. For me personally, I don't think I'm too worried about that, but there'll be some people, particularly the type of business that you're in, that it would be a major problem that you don't want it being trained on that. So anyway, that's really an interesting one. ChatGPT, I think, still is fabulous in so many ways. But like I said to you last week, I have now got rid of my subscription to that and to Gemini because I'm using, and again, I can't pronounce it, but it's MAGAI as a platform, and it's giving me all those things and so much more. So I can get it to do a chat, an image, a prompt, a persona. I've got my team in there, and it's amazing. So yeah, in terms of a paid ChatGPT, I'm not doing that one anymore. But yeah, I think there's some really fun stuff to be done with ChatGPT. I think also people are forgetting that Canva is an amazing AI tool. CapCut's an amazing AI tool. Grammarly, which many of us have been using for years and years and years. They're all very, very clever AI tools. So
I
and
think
of
it's
course,
because we're finally the term AI, when a lot of those came out, we were still thinking of Terminator and the rise of the machine. So I think there's been a shift in conversation and the fact that the sophistication and the technology going into them is far more robust, I think, than it was maybe 5 or 10 years ago when we started using a lot of those other platforms. And so now we have, we're comfortable with it, being on Zoom and being online so much more post-COVID, which we still talk about post-COVID. And it's, it's a point in time where businesses have pivoted the way we've worked, and we've had to become smarter and more effective and efficient about how we work. And I feel like the term AI is now no longer a swear word for business, right? It used to be kind of like you don't use AI, but now people are realizing it's something you can leverage rather than something that's replacing you.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I've created this little guide with my 10 favorite platforms that we're using at the moment. So I'll put that one in the comments. But already just 2 weeks ago, we added another one into it and took one out. So it's going to be something that keeps evolving because, of course, AI is here to stay. It's flooding us in every part of our lives. And yeah, learning what's out there and discovering what's good is going to be so helpful.
So what are some of the others on your guide and your sort of AI guide? What are some of the other ones that you've got on there? We've talked about, Maggie or Maggie, and we've talked about, Otter and Fathom. What are some other ones that you use?
Yeah, Otter's definitely on my guide, but so is the one that I use to make little reels out of our bite-sized chats. And it's so good. That's video.ai, but also there's Opus, which is very, very similar and does the same, and very, very impressive. So, but one of my favorites that's really just for fun is Pickstart. And that's really cool for making some little animated, like swimming pig jumping out of the water or whatever, like doing that with our clients. And where each of them have made something for their business. They've been so fun. And then, of course, you can put them up into Instagram as stickers. And so, there's lots of cool things out there. But you've got to be very careful, don't you, about where you're spending your time, because you can go down a rabbit hole. And I've got to remember that it's there to save us time, not waste our time.
And I think it's also important to remember that with all the technology, and we've talked about this a lot, whether it's a technology or a new system or a habit that you're building, it's making sure that it's working towards and to help you build and grow your business, and not just becoming distractions and shiny things, in the way that when socials first started, it gave us permission to spend 30 minutes a day or 2 hours a day scrolling on our internet, responding to, on our socials, responding to comments, and we could do that and it was work. Whereas, people then, okay, there's got to be a better way. How do we manage that kind of connection online? How do we make sure we're still visible, but we're not, being distracted by social media? How does it add value to us, and how do we use it wisely? And I think the same thing, to your point then, is when we're using AI or any technology, but particularly in the AI space, it's not to replace you. It's not to replace your mind and your thought knowledge or anything about, your gifts and the wisdom you're trying to share. It's to enhance and help you kind of realize a lot of that. So, that's using tools that are going to work well for you, and not just because they're kind of, the hot topic of the day, I think is really important to be mindful of.
I completely agree. And I think there's been so much worry out there about people's jobs being replaced. And of course, that is happening in other industries. But in terms of marketing and getting your business out there, really it's about getting help from it and, getting ideas from it and et cetera. It's not about replacing people.
Yeah, definitely not. No, definitely. What's your last tip, Carly, in terms of working with AI?
Oh, I think my biggest one would be that the more you put into it, the more you'll get out of it. So when you're asking it for something, make sure that you have said exactly who you want the AI tool to perform as. Are you being an SEO expert, or are you being a social media expert or whatever? So tell it who it is, and then tell it who you are and what it's all about, and then ask for what you need. And then keep going in that thread. Keep deep diving into it, because it will remember and it knows what you're all about. So yeah, I think that's the key, is the more you feed it, the more you'll get back out of it.
I love that, because that was one of the tips that you gave me very, very early on when we started to play with ChatGPT, is making sure we're keeping those threads so it does continue to learn, like, so it's almost a choose your own adventure, but you don't want to be jumping from one chat to another, because you have to kind of reform, and you can create so much different context. So from my takeaway, when you talk about it, to me, it's context, is making sure it knows the context of the conversation and who you are. And I love the way that you showed me how to personalize it. So whatever platform you're using, being able to personalize it so it talks in the language that you like. And you may not want to use those words like unleash and extraordinary, or what are the words you're using. Say we don't want to use those, and feed it the words that you and the tone and the style that you like to write in, because that's been the game changer for us, is having it start to learn a little bit more about us. So when we're getting those threads, when we're getting those kind of caption starters or whatever it might be, it already starts to sound like us. It doesn't sound like, somebody from Terminator Genesis.
Absolutely. And I always say, remember, I'm in Australia and we use UK English, not US English. And if it spits back some US English at me, I say, please remember, we need to regenerate this with UK English. So it's really important training it in exactly what you want. So don't be afraid to tell it off, but also remember it's so important to use your manners with it too.
I know, because there is that, it remembers us, doesn't it?
It's trained
on. Google does if I've got a Google Home, or Siri does when we chat to Siri on the phone.
Exactly.
I love that. So such an important conversation. So Kylie, how are we going to get that guide? How can people get that guide that you have there?
I'm going to pop it in the comments in a moment. And so whatever platform you're listening in on or watching on, it'll be there in a few seconds. And I noticed we've got a comment here from Berta, who said, I got AI to write me lots of cool itineraries for my road trip in Tassie last week. I was even able to do itineraries for different budgets and food wishes. So cool, Berta. Good for you. Yeah, I've absolutely
incredible.
loved
I'm going to have to start doing that when we go on our honeymoon in a couple of months. I'm going to actually consider doing that for when we go to Japan and Hawaii. Give me some really cool tips on where we should go on our honeymoon. That's definitely something I'm going to dive into a rabbit hole over the next couple of months on, I think.
He was to say, I want 10 things to do that I wouldn't find in the guidebooks. That was my game changer.
Love that tip. I love that tip. Otherwise, it is just going to draw on, the standard books the Lonely Planets and others that exist out there. Such a great chat, Kylie, as always. Next week, we're having a little bit of chat, a little bit different chat next week. We're going to kind of talk a little bit about business and talking about some of the rise and falls of growing your business and growing your empire and having to manage those expectations and the growth of your business, and how we kind of continue to keep on keeping on. A number of my friends recently I've been seeing, or some of my colleagues in the consulting industry, are talking around some of the overwhelm and the feeling they've been having over the last couple of years with this constant up and down in business. And so I thought it's a nice opportunity for us to maybe reset as we get close to the end of the financial year and talk a little bit about how you can manage and how we can actually continue to thrive through those ups and downs. So what do we like to call it? The messy middle of business.
Wonderful. I can't wait to chat with you with that, Jenny. So I look forward to seeing you next week.
And so to find your socials, let us know where we can find you on your socials, Kylie.
Just head to our website, hellomedia.team, and you can find them, or on Facebook, it's hellomedia.dreamteam.
Love it. And if you want to find a little bit more about us and Elephant in the Room, go to elephantintheroomau.com or put in Elephant in the Room AU on any of your socials and you'll find us. My goodness, my mouth is not working this morning. Thank you so very much for everyone listening to us today. I hope you've enjoyed our discussion on AI. Thanks for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you next week. Be sure to subscribe and follow so you don't miss any future episodes. And we look forward to seeing you next Monday to talk a little bit about the messy middle of business. Kylie, have a great week. Talk to you soon.
Awesome. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.